Yeah, thanks.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. It couldn't have gone any better because it was the one that was cancelled from 2020. So you could feel the crowd were up for it, and my kids came for the first time as well, and the weather was great, and it actually couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Massive success for me.
And I saw the video, Noel, in Ibiza. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's the first time that's been caught on camera. That's a regular thing that happens when you're on holiday. But I mean, I've never had the staff get up and start clapping as well. But my lad who was with us, who's 14, he's never experienced it before, so he's kind of looking at me going, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Just go with it, mate. It's paying for the holiday."
Yeah. you don't get embarrassed.
No,
do you?
not at all.
No.
So, well, there's only a select few people that would ever happen to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. You should be proud.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me. Look, if you're one of those people where it bothers you, you never leave the house, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like once you leave the house, you're getting amongst it.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Was this a sensible Ibiza? Because I'm sure a few years ago they weren't so sensible.
Well, no, they weren't. But this one was, it was a little bit sensible. The first 2 weeks we took it easy, and then the last week we went crazy, which we should have done it the other way around.
Yeah.
Because came back, and then it was just, we were kind of in a bit of a mess, really.
Right
But so we had a great time. There's a lot of footballers live out there now. John Stones has got a place out there. It's changed quite a bit. It's changed. It's all about the money now, and I mean, it used to be quite hippie-ish and all about dance culture, but still love going there. It's beautiful. Have you been?
No.
It's a beautiful. Not, it's got the reputation with the clubs and all that, and party and all that. But honestly, the island itself is beautiful. It's got a real kind of vibe to it, spiritual vibe.
Now I've got to ask you: did you ever play football? I know you love your football. Did you ever play as a kid?
Played in the school team once or twice. I was too interested in smoking and women and music, so I was never going to be an athlete. No. But I love football. It's my after music, because it's the thing we've all fallen in love with. Well, particularly you, because
it's a working class sport, isn't it?
Well, when people go on to be about music, it's like I was a City supporter before I could play guitar. So it was the first thing in my life that I was ever interested in.
Yeah.
And I don't. Lots of rock stars have hobbies that collect cars and or take flying lessons. Mine is going to see City. I have no other interest in life than music and football.
Do you go every game, or if you can?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not.
Yeah, I was there the other night against Forest. It's the first one I've been to this season because I'm making a record at the minute and I've been busy. But I was there the last game against Villa when Ruben Diaz's dad. But I did the story about that.
Go on.
So when Gundogan scores the winner, Ruben Diaz's old fella, he's in a box next door, but one to us. He's a big bear of a man. He's like massive, and so when he's at the games, he likes to drink, right? Yeah. And he's always over the balcony shouting. Yeah, he's great, good lad. So as Gundogan scores the winner, I've got my little lad Sonny, and I've picked him up like the World Cup, and we're like, yeah. And as I put him down, I didn't know this, but Ruben Diaz's dad is coming running down the concourse to pick me up. And as I turned round, he ran straight into me.
Oh, no.
I'd get stitches in my nose and everything. For that last 9 minutes, I was getting treated, right, in the room by the St. John's ambulance.
No.
While the clock was running down, face was covered in blood, right? And that bit where, the final whistle goes and Pep starts crying and he runs up the tunnel. Well, he's running up to his box to see his family, which is on the same thing. As I'm coming down with the St. John's ambulance guy, right?
He never ran into you as well.
No. Well, we kind of met in the thing and he was in tears and we were hugging. And then he just looked at me and says, "What's up with your fucking face?" And I was like, "I'll tell you later." But I was all covered in blood. My little lad Sonny thinks I'm crazy, but it was. But yeah, the City is it's my
And what
thing.
signing this year, Haaland? You must be so excited.
I have to say, the people who run that club are amazing because there was. The two most important signings that City had to make was Guardiola and getting this lad.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to win that Champions League, he's going to win it for us.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert on football, I see it as a fan, but watching him the other night in the flesh, he's never, ever, ever stood still with his arms in the air, where I was there, if he makes a run, doesn't get it, resets, he's somewhere else, the defenders don't know what to do.
His record's unbelievable now as well.
It's stupid.
It's ridiculous.
He's like played 164 professional games, he's got 150 goals. It's mad.
Scary.
But you know what? You can see, because you can see why that he's holding defenders off, they can't get near him.
Oh, he's massive, he's tall.
And he's fast. And You know, they were showing on Match of the Day the other night. All his goals have come within
Yeah.
the width of the 6-yard box, tap-ins.
Yeah, but he'll score a few crackers as well, I'm sure.
I guess, yeah. But, you know, I'm trying to explain to my kids what's special about him. It's like, this is not Messi, guy. He's not going to beat 4 people and smash one in. It's just in his brain.
Balls in the back of the net.
He's finding, if there's 2 yards... No. It's in you, innit? You can't teach it. You've either got it.
Was it in you, Al? Was it in you?
The thing, if once the City players know this lad's game, where he's not interested in being outside of the box. He's not in. He's in the 18-yard. I mean, according to all the pundits who, you know, before the season started, this was going to be the settling in period. Well, God help us when he's got his feet on his head.
Yeah.
When I'm lucky enough to, you know, get invited into the dressing room after the games. They're a lovely bunch of lads, and I was talking to Guardiola the other night. And he said it's the main thing about bringing new players in is they've got to be good lads. He said because Cheeky, the guy who finds the players, he says, I know this kid's got something. If he tells me, all I'm bothered about is he going to upset these lads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, the nicest bunch of lads. You'll have been in dressing rooms where, you know, some like the United dressing room in the 90s was a bit edgy. No one really spoke to each other. Roy Keane and Teddy Sheringham. But so the dressing room will have a vibe. The vibe with these lot is they're just a real nice bunch of lads. Arsenal fans, they're a weird lot, right? Because Arteta will lose a few games and they want him out, right?
Yeah.
But he's been taught off the best, and he's brought in these 2 players who've been taught off the best.
Yeah.
And it isn't any wonder. It's not rocket science, you know. And if Arsenal will become like City if they run the club right, you know, and it all starts... The thing about, you know, the difference between us and them and United, for instance, is United have got a lot of businessmen buying the players. When you look at City, it's all football guys. They've all played for Barcelona, and they've all played, you know, and, you know, they're not just like businessmen who are trying to balance the books.
Yeah.
And all the great football teams in our era were all run by football people. You know, Ferguson, Wenger, Mourinho.
Yeah. Ray, did you ever play at Main Road?
Yeah, loads of times.
Yeah.
Where did you stand?
On the Kippax.
Yeah, Kippax. Yeah, I always remember that one.
Yeah, well, it was the biggest freestanding stand in all of England, right down the side of the pitch. And I get, you know, when you think about it, because that's your childhood, you know, getting passed over the turnstiles by your dad.
What years are we talking about here?
First game was 1974.
Yeah.
So I seen a Belley and Summerby.
Oh,
and,
fabulous.
Still see him up there now today.
I know Mike very well.
I know Mike as well, and Tommy Booth and Joe Corrigan, Peter Barnes, all great lads. You
Barnesy,
see him, you see him around City now. And, you know, I often think, was it the first thing that got me interested in writing these anthems? Is that I remember in the Kippax in full swing, you know, on a night game, and just thinking,
this is unbelievable.
This song, how do they all start these songs?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, but who writes them?
Yeah, and 1974, the first game, we were at home to Newcastle, and I can only visualise. We beat them 4-1 or 5-1. I can only visualise the one that was scored for Newcastle. It was Malcolm McDonald, who smashed one in off the underside of the bar. You could hear the bar rattle in the back of the Kippax.
And now, growing up in Manchester in the 70s, what was it like?
Well, it wasn't great. If you're Irish, it wasn't great. Because, because with the troubles in Northern Ireland, when it's brought to the mainland, the Irish were kind of... they circled the wagons around their own community, because the Irish used to get... were persecuted is the wrong word, but because of the bombings in England,
yeah,
a very, very tight-knit Irish community. So there was always music. We didn't have babysitters in the 70s, so your mum and dad would always take you with them to the Irish social clubs, which is where I would see the bands for the first time.
Where are we talking? South Manchester or around Main Road? Around there?
Well, we were born in Longside, which is a short walk from the Platt Lane training ground. So I could see the floodlights of Main Road from my bedroom, and then we moved to South Manchester. But my upbringing was extremely Irish. We holidayed in Ireland. We went to a Catholic school. All my family are Irish. All my friends were kids of Irish families. Yeah. So
you went to school till you're 15, and then what happened?
Well, I was talking to my mum about this the other day. She was like, there's a famous within the family story that my mum was a dinner lady at our school, right? So I never went to school, but I used to go in for dinner. Like, so I'd see her every day. So at one time, the school sent her a letter saying, "We haven't seen your son for like 12 weeks." You know,
she's like,
"What? All right?" She's like,
wait a minute.
She's like, "What do you mean? I've seen him every day." And she came over, she found out I'd been bunking off school for like months.
Oh, no.
And she never let me. She mentioned it
So
to me
when
the
you
other day.
bunked off, though, what did you do as a kid?
We were on the golf course and then round at lads' houses whose parents were at work, and then obviously we went to an all boys school, so we were sniffing around the old girls' school, smoking, that kind of thing. We had no internet.
Were you playing guitar then, or trying to at 15?
No, I would have been interested in it, but I didn't have a guitar, that's for sure, because we had no money. But I was a late starter with the guitar. I kind of took it up in early mid-teens, and I'm still learning. You know what I mean? You never stop learning. Yeah. Well, I've never had a music lesson. I just learned from playing along to other people's records, and even recently making this album, I have people come down that play guitar. And I'll still be studying what they do and learning a bit,
Wow.
But I always thought if I had music lessons, it would kind of change the way that I play, and I kind of play by ear, you know what I mean? So we never had music classes. It was just so the reason there was a guitar in my house, no one's ever really got to the bottom of. But I think it just appeared behind the kitchen door one day. And I think my old fellow was a gambler. And I think he must have won it at cards, because back in the day, they were always out playing cards till all hours of the morning. If you ran out of money, you'd be like, well, the car keys are going in or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't gamble or drive strictly because of my old fella, because I would always see him shouting at the telly at the horses. I'm thinking, that doesn't look like it's off. And then when it was in the car with him, he invented road rage.
Yeah.
Really? I'll never forget the day that would have been in the early 80s when the Ford Sierra came out.
Yeah, Ford Sierra.
First one. And he wound down the window and shouted at somebody in the Sierra and called him a Sierra-faced bastard. Which
just
I thought was one of the best lines ever. Just because he had a new car.
Didn't you get a song?
What Sierra-faced bastard?
Oh, that would have been a blinder.
What about, you mentioned your boy earlier, the football. Did he just play his first gig?
So I've got my youngest lad who's really into football, Sonny. He is always kicking the ball around. The eldest lad is more interested in girls and hip hop.
How old is he now?
He'd be 15 in a couple of weeks, actually.
Oh, wow.
But the young lad, Sonny, is he plays for his local football team, and he's right into it, And he went for the trials for the county and all that.
Oh,
but
did he? Oh, good.
Yeah, he didn't get it, but he's enthusiastic, and he's got a good shot on him, and he's got great positional play. But as long as he, he's.
What would you rather be? Footballer or musician?
Footballer.
Would you?
Yeah, they get paid more than musicians now, footballers. I don't know a musician who earns 500 grand a week.
No. But you got to be at the top level.
Well, no, still, but I know it's a short career and all that, but
decent.
I guess football because he's really into it.
Yeah.
He loves it, and it was a funny day when he started, really identifying with players, and he didn't know that Ronaldo had played for United, so he come on with a Ronaldo poster into the house, and I was like, mate,
what are you doing?
Can't do that.
What are you doing? And he was like, I love Ronaldo, he's my favourite player. I was like, can't have it in this house, mate. And I had to show him pictures of him in a United kit, because he's only ever known him play for Real Madrid.
Right, yeah, of course.
Right, and Juventus.
No, Alan's a big Jamiroquai fan.
No, I'm not.
What do you think of him?
No.
What do you think of him?
I'm not Jimmy.
Yes, you are.
I am not.
No, I do like a bit of the old jazz funk, but I'm not. He's a Rod fan, though. I know you love Rod. Yeah,
I do. He's.
Do you know the last time I was at when City played Celtic at Celtic Park in the Champions League a few years ago? Rod lost his jacket in the chairman's lounge after, and actually accused me in front of a lot of people of nicking his jacket.
He did not.
Oh, he was at the wind-up, but he's like, "Where's my jacket? Have you got my jacket?" And I was like, "What is it? 3/4 length chinchilla? What is it?"
Well, he'll be up there this weekend, Celtic Rangers, won't he?
Top man, Rod.
Yeah, now you do some good
top
impressions.
Yeah. So what about writing then? You mentioned about the anthems at football supporters. Someone's written them. Do you remember the first song you wrote and you thought you?
I don't.
How long?
I know. With the guitar, I never really saw myself as a guitar player. It's a strange thing, and I don't know why. I guess I was always destined to do it. my first thing was not to learn how to play, it was to write a song.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that was, because it's not usually the way it is. Usually lads will learn to play the guitar and, you know, get a book or go and have lessons. I started writing songs, or trying to write songs immediately. So it's clearly something that's in me, you know.
Yeah.
And
So you're writing words down before music?
no, the music always comes first. The words come right at the end. The words take twice as long as the music will. But you know, sometimes you can overthink it a bit and overthink what you're going to say. But I get asked advice all the time by young songwriters. But my advice would be is just have a basic outline, and then just let the universe write it. Just kind of let it appear, and then fine tune it. Whereas people these days are always trying to, you know, what does it mean? I don't know what it means.
Well, just saying that.
I just kind of made it up.
I've always wondered what is a Wonderwall.
Well, okay, so there's a film from the '60s called Wonderwall, right? And it's about a guy who lives in a flat, and in the flat next door there's always this exotic music, and there's a hole in the wall, and it's a psychedelic kind of art movie, and in this flat next door is this like pretty-looking young girl, and he kind of spying on her through the hole. And he calls it the Wonderwall, right? Now, but then George Harrison from the Beatles did the soundtrack, and it was called Wonderwall Music. And when I was writing that song, it started off. It was called Wishing Stone, because a girl that I'd met had earnestly put this stone into my hand one night and said, "That's your wishing stone to make all your dreams come true." And I was like, whatever, you know. And so I was writing this song. It's called Wishing Stone, and it didn't really. You're my wish. It didn't really have it.
No.
And then one day I had a poster of this Wonderwall film coming down the stairs in my house. And as I was coming down the stairs one afternoon, I was humming the song, and there was the word Wonderwall, and I thought, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. So I became around that, and it just became this thing, you know. And I get asked about it. Well, what is a Wonderwall? It's like, well, Morning Glory. I'm not sure what it actually is. I mean, there's a term for having a hard on in the morning, isn't it? Yeah. And then isn't there a food?
And then you always get it.
We're back to Pete and Tom.
Morning Glory, isn't there a food or a plant? There's something called Morning Glory.
No, I think it's the first one you said.
When I'm writing, I'm just like kind of, particularly in the 90s, I would have always had a drink, and I would just be like making stuff up and seeing what stuck really. And of course, but in those days there was no phone to record it into, so, and I wouldn't tend to write it down because you'd be stuck with it then. So you'd just be singing on whatever stuck, and you'd be like, "Wow, okay, that sounds good." And then you spend the rest of your life trying to explain it. Yeah. And what people absolutely, what I found out, do not want to hear when they ask you about their favourite song is you go, I just made it.
Who would be the greatest songwriter? Would McCartney be there? Lennon?
The list is endless. I don't really think you could put one up there. I mean,
you'll be up there now.
Well, in some people's eyes, I guess. But I mean, I guess McCartney has wrote the most famous of all the songs. You know,
were you a Lennon fan?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's the only one of the Beatles I never met, but he was. I do a cover of one of his songs on my new album, actually. But he was, I mean, that band were everything to Oasis. We played the same guitars as them. Yeah. We had haircuts like them. I tried to, you know, how did they structure their songs and all that? And they meant everything, not only to us, to my generation, really. But Lennon was the weird one, you know, and kind of Macca was the pop guy, but they're both together just staggering, astonishing.
Any of your great songs you would like to tweak now, rewrite, go back and rewrite them?
All of them.
Yeah.
All
really?
Of them. Yeah. Well, I'd like to definitely, maybe, probably not. That is the quintessential Oasis record. It was recorded live. That was it. If anybody wants to know what Oasis is all about, it's that album. Morning Glory is a different thing altogether. I didn't do any demos for it. Half of it was written in the studio. If you listen to it, the first verse is repeated in the second verse, and it was all kind of half-heartedly we did it on the hoof because we were so busy touring. So Morning Glory, I would have liked to have, I mean, speaking hypothetically here, because you can't go back and change it, but I'd like to have had a second verse for Wonderwall and all the big ones.
Couldn't you do that now on a new album?
Well, I could do whatever I want, but I could tell you now, fans would go absolutely apeshit if you did it. You're kind of, because it means more to them than it means to you. You're kind of, I'm the same when I hear new Beatles stuff they remix. I'm just like, leave it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know.
Does anything compare to having thousands of people sing your lyrics? It must be yeah.
Well, it's a funny thing because you do get a lot of footballers get gigs, right? And you get a lot of musicians at the football. And I was speaking to, I've been to this about once, Jamie Redknapp. There's a thing that's familiar to both of us, whereas you're performing for a crowd, right? And we're performing for a crowd. You've got more of a responsibility to the supporters, and you've also got people in the stadium who are against you. So that's different. When you're in a band, you've got 40,000 people fall in love with you that night, and that's it. Nobody's there to boo you. Yeah. But I guess the similarities are it's the kind of performance, and you're a sportsman, whereas we're artists. But the thing where we do it in front of crowds is quite similar. Yeah. And you do get a lot of footballers who come to my gigs for that reason. They're fascinated by it. And I'm like, well, we're the same with footballers. Do you get a massive buzz after the concert and you go in? Imagine all the fans are going mad. What would you do after the concert? Just go out and... Well, it's a bit more sedate now. So back in the 90s, you would barely go to bed before you did a show, like a big show. Yeah. But when you're in your 20s, you can do that. You know what I mean? Now it's kind of like once a month you'll have a big night out. Yeah. And you'll pay for it for a month after that. There's kind of similarities to what footballers and musicians do, but particularly when you go on tour with a new record and that starts to take hold, and then people will sing your new songs back to you, is amazing. But in the case of like Don't Look Back in Anger, I mean, it's just such a privilege to have written that song, and not only for it to be played at my gigs. You hear it after the Manchester thing, the bombings and that. It's kind of like it's become a hymn, and it's a real privilege to be involved in it in that way. So it never gets old. It never gets old. I mean, like, you'd still have to be playing, right? In whatever capacity. So even the old stuff is great. But when you've got a new record out and people are singing,
do you still get a buzz when you know you're going to go on tour again? Or
oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think I appreciate it more now than I ever did.
South America, you love?
Oh God, Argentina. Yeah. I mean, those people. You've been to Argentina?
No, I'm a big friend of Ardila's.
Right.
And he wants to take me to Buenos Aires.
You have to go to that country. These people are... There's a reason, right, that when you see Argentinian footballers, they all become heroes to the fans. Tevez, Zabaleta, we've got a few, Zabaleta, Aguero.
Maradona, of course.
Maradona, all over the world. It's because they're kind of tough guys. Yeah. They don't give a fuck. And they will give you everything they've got for 90 minutes every week. And then they'll go and have a beer afterwards and go out. Yeah. And the Argentinians... Honest to God, I went there in the 80s when I was part of a road crew for a band I was working for in Manchester, and I fell in love with the place. They're the most incredible people. The shows that I've done there. We did a gig once with Oasis, right? It was in this big arena, and it was just a swirling sea of people when doing the tunes. I've never seen this before. Right in the middle of this sea of people, it's like an old football match from the 70s. Was a guy with a tray of beers going on in the middle of the thing, not spilling a drop, and he's serving them in the middle of the gig. Yeah, unbelievable. Really? But Buenos Aires, one of the best cities in the world, and I was lucky enough to tour a bit there. So I've been to Mendoza, where Archie Gemmill scored the goal against Holland, and toured all around that country. It's an amazing country. And when you get down to the south, it's like another planet.
Rio.
Brazil, amazing.
Yeah.
Brazil, the only place I've ever been, went to a bar one night in Brazil, and there was, you go to sub pubs, there's a bowl of nuts. Brazil's a bowl of condoms. Yeah, we've got a good night here.
Better drugs over there. Good drugs over there as well.
The best.
Was that crazy? We all got older now, but
yeah, it was great. It was just, it's kind of, it's your rite of passage as a rock star. It's kind of like,
really,
you're all in your 20s.
Yeah.
You're hugely successful.
Trash a few rooms, get a bit.
I was never into the trashing of the rooms. Our kids used to do that a bit. That wasn't my thing, because my mum was a cleaner. I was always thinking, my mum trying to clean up the mess.
So you got to clean that up.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, you're touring the world as
Young men,
and
yeah.
you're gonna smash the arse out of it for all
Yeah,
it's
of
worth.
course, yeah.
Trust me.
was-
As long as you're doing the thing on stage every night.
I was going to say, what was the worst time, or was it the best time?
Oh, the worst would be. I remember a couple of gigs where you'd not gone to bed, and you'd be like, and you'd get. I'm sure you've done it where you're going like, there's no point now.
Oh no.
There's no point now, and you just you'd push on through. And luckily for us, there was no phones then, so them gigs were not filmed. You know what I mean? And everyone seemed to have a good time. But the worst of it, the worst part of a band is, you're starting your 20s, and all you've got is each other, right? And then, one by one, you get married and kids, and you start to live separate lives, and you meet for this thing, and then you change. You change as geezers.
Because it's not easy, but some people can handle fame, some can't. I'll give you an example. You might not like the movie, but Bradley Cooper, Star is Born, I thought was great.
Yeah.
It showed you his problems.
Yeah.
There he was, a superstar. He meets Lady Gaga,
Yeah.
and the poor guy ends up,
Well, it's more often than not. That's the story of fame. Fame can hit people really hard. I always use the example of Amy Winehouse.
Oh.
A lovely, lovely, lovely girl.
Yeah.
Lovely Cockney girl from where, from North London. All of a sudden, she makes that album, she becomes this world superstar.
Went to a
Fame hit her like a
Couldn't end
truck, and she didn't make it.
Unique voice she had, didn't she?
Yeah, she had it. Sadly, she didn't have the people around her that was. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What about when you were really whipping it up? Panic attacks or loneliness?
Yeah.
No,
not loneliness. No, God, no. No, I'm luckily enough. I've always prefer my own company. I kind of crave being kind of. Yeah. No, I don't really get that. Although I do know people that do get it, and it's murder for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when so towards the end of the night, in fact, I'll tell you, I remember it vividly. Was the day that I quit cocaine, and it was during the World Cup, France '98. France were playing Germany. It was half time, and we'd had a huge party the night before, and I kind of stumbled out of bed in the afternoon, and the first thing I did was went to the fridge, got a can of Red Stripe, and I was smoking at the time, and lit a cig, and my whole world just fell in, and I just had a freak out, and thought, couldn't breathe and all that kind of thing, and
Wow.
From that day forward, I quit cocaine.
So what do you do? Do you have a few beers now, here and now?
Yeah. No, I love a drink. I love a bottle of rosé in the summer.
Yeah.
I love a beer. Love a pint of Guinness once in a while, but you can easily stick 10 of them away, and it's murder, isn't it? But no, I love a drink. I've never had a problem with any of it, to be honest. I've always been able to control all of it. The mental side of it I'm lucky enough it's never bothered me. But
you'd have seen people in the industry who couldn't handle it.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, sad, isn't it? It's really sad.
You just need to. If you're surrounded by the right people, I've been surrounded by the same people for 30 years who look after me, like my management team and all that.
Yeah.
So we know each other. I don't have a transient organisation where it's just a raft of different people every 6 months.
Must be hard then, yeah.
But it's all about the individual. Like I say with Amy Winehouse and Pete Doherty, for instance, and people like that. Like, if you're a grown man, nobody's going to tell you what to do. If you're successful and you've got money, I mean, my fallback was always I had my work, because I was the sole songwriter. I had the work, and if I didn't do the work, the band was just going to fall apart. So I always had that, and I always worked backwards from what was solid. So the partying side of it, and the drugs and all that was kind of, I treated that as a bonus. I didn't get caught up in that was anything other than just a laugh. Do you know what I mean? And but I always took the work, and still do to this day, take the work very, very seriously.
I think music helped people as well during lockdown, didn't it?
It became very important,
Yeah.
and you know, music is the one thing. Well, the arts, films, books, music, particularly those three things, they can transport you out of whatever mental place you're in, and it's all about escapism. And once that was taken away from us, it was you kind of didn't know what to do. I mean, luckily for me, I'm a songwriter, so I wrote a lot of songs during that period. But music became more important than people actually realised it was.
Yeah, of course it did.
You know, and it is, and we don't really get a fair shake from the government actually, because everybody's business got priority to come back up. Music was the last thing to come back. You know, it was the first to go and the last to come back. And I tell you what, now with venues closing down all over the place, there's going to be arenas and stadiums and nothing else in between.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was out last night at Ronnie Scott's actually. Yeah. And you know, after Soho, half the street lights were out because of the electricity and the gas.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it looked great because it was kind of dark and a little bit seedy.
All the pubs are going to be closed.
We used to go over the road, didn't we, the Italian?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great bar, that, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I watched, it's great when the World Cup's on in that bar, you know, it gets proper rowdy in there.
So, all good with you. It sounds as if you're in a great place.
Yeah, well, life's what you make it. You know, it's, you can let things... Yeah, I was always a glass half full, kind of like, anyway, growing up. So now it's like, you know, I'm 55, I'm still making records that people are interested in.
Yeah, of course.
You know, still people want to see me play. I got a great band, family.
Are you a worrier? Like, success has come now, but are you a worrier? Do you ever think?
I worry. My eldest went to Carnival at the weekend, so there's a bit of that, you know, because Carnival, you know,
can be,
you know, it's a sea of people and there's a lot of wrong uns there. So I would worry about that. I don't worry about myself. I'm 55 now. I'm in control of my own destiny, so I'm cool with that. I've kind of made it, so I don't worry about anything like that. You know, you worry about your parents and you worry about your kids and all that. But I'm not. Do you know what? The last time I really got tense was after the Charity Shield when Haaland didn't score, and I was like, I really hope the kid does well. Do you know what I mean? Because I just want him to do well.
Suddenly he was all negative. Oh, he's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, I was out in Ibiza at the time. Right? I didn't see the Charity Shield, and of course, at a night out, we just seemed to be Scousers everywhere, and they were, Nunes has gone a shit on him, and it was just like, come on, man.
And I'm hoping really that he's the final piece to win the Champions League.
Well, we were all up there the other night, and we were saying for a long time since the takeover, genuinely, a lot of City supporters have not been that bothered about the Champions League because winning the league is still a novelty.
It's still very important.
Yeah, it's still a novelty to us, and we've not won that many that it's like we're not bothered about. Now it's shifting. Now it's like we've got this lad.
League,
Now it's like, you know what? We need to sit a few people down here, and we need to win it and win it big, and then maybe win it again, and then no one can say anything after that.
No, of course not. Right, now I've got to ask you: have you ever seen a ghost?
Why did you ask everybody
have you seen a ghost? No strange experiences, no?
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe in ghosts. I'm not spiritual. I don't believe in God. I'm not a spiritual person at all. I don't believe in the afterlife. I know lots of people that do, and you know, that everyone's entitled to beliefs, but I don't believe in the afterlife.
No. Noel, if you had a time machine, you'd go back to one time.
I'll go back to the 90s.
Would you?
Yeah, definitely, maybe time. Yeah, when we were coming up.
Because it's all a massive buzz, wasn't it? Because
it's all in front of you and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So as each album got more successful, you kind of knew what was going to happen. But that thing from writing Supersonic on the fly one night in the studio from 94 up to Never, I'd love to experience that again and have a better understanding of it. Because you were literally just getting up each day, where are we going, what are we doing, you know, and just like flying by the seat of your pants, but having a great time doing it. And the 90s, I mean, we were so lucky. We didn't have any phones. There was none of that nonsense going on. There was just, you know, life was a lot simpler and more straightforward. No internet. Everyone's a politician now. everybody's a fucking expert on everything. Everyone's like, oh man,
No, you're looking smart as usual.
Thank you very much.
So what's your favourite bit of clobber you wear usually? You like a
I do like a bomber jacket.
bomber jacket?
Yeah, feel weird when I'm out.
When you go city, do you wear the gear or do you wear the old city shirt on?
No.
You go cool.
No, I don't like. Do you know what? I think I've wore a city kit for a couple of photo shoots for the club and all that when they're doing the new ones.
Director's box, or have you not got to put a tie on?
No, not a city. No, they're quite forward thinking there. If you're part of the chairman's lounge up there, if you're the respective boards, there's a bit roped off. You can see it. You've got to wear a suit, but you can buy seats in the chairman's lounge now, right? And they scrapped all that suit and tie thing. You're just not allowed to wear. You're not allowed to wear colours or scarves or anything.
Right. So, when you play United at Old Trafford, you go?
I've been once when I did a thing for Sky and got to sit with Neville while it was on and we won. But because I'm a recognisable City fan, it can get quite tricky for me going up there. It can get tricky up there, and at Liverpool and at Tottenham for some reason. But
really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why at Tottenham. It's because I'm always slagging them off.
Last question, Noel. What is it like being Noel Gallagher? You love it every day. You know what you've achieved in your career.
I guess it's the kind of respect that you get from the man in the street, knowing that the songs that I've written are being played somewhere in the world. There's a busker now in the shop doorway playing one of my songs, and my songs people have taken them into their heart and you know they love them, and to be happy in what you do, to be comfortable with yourself and where you're at when you're in your mid-50s, you can't ask for anything more than that.
Any regrets, Noel, over your career or not? Or family?
I don't. As a rule, regrets. There's no point in them. You can't go back and change it. But if I could, there's a couple of musical things like Oasis' third album. I'd knocked that off on holiday because I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and just knocked it off. And when I came back and people heard it, all my record company said, "This is amazing." And I was like, "Well, this is easy," you know. And it bombed, right? And we never kind of recovered from that. If I could go back then, I'd change that particular part of the Oasis history, but really, not really, because I've ended up.
Shouldn't have regrets.
I'd like to live it all again, as long as I could end up in the same place. You know what I mean? Because I've had a great life, I've had a tough upbringing, but no tougher than anybody else on my street. You know, it's the 70s, and there were brutal times, and people forget. It's like the 70s now, like businesses shutting down and all that. But it was a bit more. I don't know. There was a lot of unemployment when we were growing up. It's a bit more of a brutal time, but to come through that and to become an artist and then become a respected one is amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And then, do you know what is when I go to City and the respect you get from the terraces and round the country is truly grateful for that, because that's where the real people are on the terraces, right? The real working class are still going to football. There are not as many as there was, but they're still there. And for them to respect you for what you do, and then, you know, that you can't, that's
Absolutely.
it. That is it.
And we'll never see Oasis again?
I wouldn't, it'd have to be an extraordinary set of circumstances, but I don't like going back over things. I always say to people, would you go on holiday with your ex-missus? I know you wouldn't.
If she pays, I will.
But I think Oasis are more, as funny as this sounds, Oasis sell as many records now per year as we did when we were together.
Amazing.
Right?
Oh. Yeah.
We're as popular now in the eyes of the people as we ever were. And I'm happy with it. If we got back together, it'd be a circus. And there's no point. There's no, just leave it as it is. I'm happy. He's doing his thing. He's still fucking selling out Nebworth. It's like, mate, good luck to you. You know what I mean? Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Last one, definitely last one. How would you like to be remembered?
I'd just like to be remembered. That's it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's time at the bar. Listen, brilliant. Love this.
Brilliant,
big thank you to Noel Gallagher for being so open and honest. Take care. We'll see you next time in Pub Talk. Brilliant. I really loved that, mate.
What's up, mate?
Love that.
Cheers out.
Brilliant.